If a heart attack strikes and you're all alone, what would you do? It's a question no one wants to think about, but every year, thousands of elderly people in the US are forced to face it. Not in hospitals, not in public places, but right in the quiet of their own homes, at 6 a.m. or 2 in the morning, when no one else is around to notice. I still vividly remember the story of Mr. Richard, 74 years old, living alone in Arizona. Describing that moment, I was sitting in the kitchen reading the newspaper. Suddenly, I felt a strange sensation just below my collarbone. It wasn't painful, just like someone placed a warm brick on my chest. But then, I couldn't take a full breath anymore. My hands started to sweat, cold sweat. It would have been easy for him to think it was heartburn. Easy to wait another 5 minutes before calling someone. But what he did was stand up very slowly, grab his phone, call 911 immediately, then sit back down, doing nothing else. The doctor later told him something I'll never forget. That moment when you didn't ignore that strange feeling, that's what saved your heart from stopping. If you live alone, or if your elderly loved one often stays home alone, this video might be the thing that saves a life. I'm going to share with you 7 simple but absolutely critical actions you need to take immediately if you suspect you're having a heart attack and no one is around to help. No doctor needed. No fancy equipment, just a bit of preparation, a bit of calm, and one right decision made at the right time. Start now. Don't wait until it's too late. The heart, before it screams in pain, often whispers first with signals we easily ignore. And for older adults, those whispers are even quieter. So quiet, in fact, that if you're not paying attention, you might just think you're a little tired or just having mild indigestion. Mr. Richard, the man I just mentioned, is a vivid example. He didn't have sharp chest pain like in the movies. He didn't collapse to the ground. He just felt a strange, tight pressure under his collarbone, accompanied by a sudden fatigue, as if he had just climbed a flight of stairs. While he was sitting still, in his hands, the ones so used to gripping a steering wheel every morning, were now cold, sweaty, and slightly trembling. He didn't feel pain, but he felt something's not right. And because he didn't dismiss that vague feeling, his heart was saved in time. Many people wait until the pain feels like a vice grip before they act. But in older adults, especially women, heart attacks can arrive quietly. A dull fatigue, lightheadedness, or an odd discomfort in the back, neck, or jaw. You might feel short of breath even while resting. You might break into a cold sweat in a cool room, or suddenly feel nauseous for no clear reason. Don't brush these off. Your body is knocking softly, and if you don't answer, it may stop knocking altogether. And if you feel chest tightness, as if something heavy is pressing down, are short of breath even while sitting, start sweating cold, feel weak and your hands tremble, have a vague, uneasy feeling that something is not right, then this might not be random. Don't tough it out. Don't wait for the pain to get clearer. Treat it as the first gentle warning and act, because in that moment you have the right to keep living just by listening to yourself. Once you recognize these early signs, the next thing you must do, without delay, is call emergency services immediately. I understand, for many older adults, calling 911 may feel like overreacting, especially if symptoms are vague. Some people are afraid of bothering others. Some don't want to be seen as panicking unnecessarily. But here's the truth. The only kind of panic that saves lives is the one that happens on time. I remember Linda, 78 years old, living alone in California. That afternoon, she was folding laundry when she felt an odd ache in her left shoulder. Then came a wave of nausea and cold sweat. She sat down, phone in hand, hesitating. Call her son? Wait and see if it passed? Then she remembered what a nurse once told her. If you think it's a heart attack and you're alone, call 911, 1111 first. Family second. She made the call. When EMTs arrived, the pain had already spread to her chest. The paramedic said bluntly, "If you'd waited 10 more minutes, this could have gone very differently." You may not be certain you're having a heart attack, But here's what you need to know. You don't need to be sure. They'd rather show up and find you okay than not show up in time. Because heart attacks don't always come like in the movies. But when they're real, every minute means more damage to your heart. Keep your phone nearby at all times. If you can't speak clearly, use the emergency call function. And remember, calling for help is priority number one. Not calling your kids, not asking a neighbor, not waiting to see if it gets better. Calm, then sit down and stay calm. And if you're still alert enough to take one more small but incredibly important step, I'll tell you exactly what that is in the next part. If, after calling emergency services, you're still conscious and able to stay in control, there's one small action, very small, that has saved thousands of lives across the United States. Chewing an aspirin. Not swallowing, but chewing it slowly, even if your hands are trembling. Because aspirin acts as a blood thinner, helping prevent a clot from growing larger, and that clot is what usually blocks the artery during a heart attack. When you chew instead of swallow, the medication is absorbed into your bloodstream faster and may buy you a few critical minutes before help arrives. I think of Mr. Joe, 72 years old, who lived in a small apartment near the coast. One morning, he felt chest pressure that radiated up into his neck. He didn't panic. He opened his kitchen drawer, took out the aspirin he had already prepared in advance, and chewed it slowly while waiting for the ambulance. The doctor later said that single pill helped keep blood flowing just enough to reduce the damage to his heart. Joe later shared, "Just one aspirin felt like it pulled me back from the edge." If you live alone, keep aspirin in multiple places. In your kitchen drawer, on your nightstand, in your wallet, or in a bedside medicine box. Make sure it's regular aspirin, not enter-coated or time-released. Don't worry that it seems too simple. In the first minutes of a heart attack, simple is exactly what you need. Just remember, if you're not allergic and not already on other prescribed blood thinners, chewing an aspirin is a medically proven action that could save your life. After you've called for help and chewed an aspirin, the next step may seem simple, but it could be the very thing that saves your exhausted heart. Do nothing else. Sit down or lie still in the safest spot near you. Do not try to tidy up. Do not walk around. Do not try to finish something real quick. Because at this moment, your heart is working harder than it ever has, and even the smallest movements can make things worse. Think of Miss Alice, 81 years old, a neat and orderly woman who lived alone and always kept her home spotless. That morning, when chest tightness spread to both arms, her first instinct was to finish washing the dishes and tidy up the breakfast table. But then she remembered what her doctor once told her during a routine checkup. If you suspect a heart attack, even just suspect it, the task is not to clean up. The task is to sit down and breathe. She walked to her favorite armchair, sat down, relaxed her arms, let her feet rest on the floor, and waited. When the ambulance arrived, she was still alert, and according to her doctor, it was because she didn't try to tough it out. For many older adults, the instinct to push through, to stay strong, is deeply ingrained from a lifetime of resilience. But in this moment, it is the act of surrendering, of choosing to stop, that is the strongest thing you can do. Choose a safe spot. Sit upright with back support if you can, hands relaxed, feet grounded. If you feel dizzy, lie on your side, elevate your head slightly, and keep your airway open. If sitting on a chair without armrests, don't let yourself slide off. Support yourself gently with your hands or lean back against a nearby wall. Staying still doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're giving your heart a chance to stabilize, to keep going. And at this age, every breath you hold on to through calmness is as precious as a second chance at life. There's one small thing, seemingly unimportant, that could determine whether you survive while waiting for emergency help: unlocking your door. If you're still conscious after calling 911, try to get to your door and unlock it. It might only take a few seconds, but for the emergency crew, it can mean the difference between entering immediately or having to break in, wasting precious time. I remember Mr. Paul, 76, who lived in a ground floor apartment. That day, he felt a sharp pain in the center of his chest. It radiated to his jaw and left shoulder. He did everything right, called 911, chewed an aspirin, sat quietly in his chair. But then he looked at his front door, locked and bolted. And a thought crossed his mind. If I pass out, who will open the door for them? So he slowly stood up, walked to the door, unlocked it, opened it slightly, and returned to his chair. When the paramedics arrived, they entered easily and began treatment within seconds. One of them said, "If the door had been locked, we might have had to break it down, and you may not have been conscious by then." Mr. Paul later shared that unlocking the door saved him because when they arrived, he had just started to lose consciousness. Of course, if you feel too weak or walking could worsen your condition, don't attempt it. But if you're still alert and the door is nearby, open it. Also, take a moment now to consider, is your door easy to open from the inside? Do you have a backup electronic lock? Could you install a lockbox outside your home? Simple preparations, like keeping a spare key accessible, labeling your address clearly, or sharing a code with a nearby trusted person, can help emergency teams reach you faster in a crisis. You're not doing this out of paranoia. You're doing it because you want to give life the fastest way in, and those trying to save you the best chance. When you're alone during a heart attack, your phone is no longer just a device. It becomes your lifeline. And if you know how to use it at the right time, in the right way, you give yourself a better chance of surviving. First, after calling emergency services, switch the call to speaker mode. This frees your hands, important when you're feeling weak or short of breath, and helps dispatchers hear you better. They can catch breathing sounds, background noise, or even sudden silence if you can't speak anymore. Sometimes, hearing weakening breath over speaker is what prompts dispatchers to accelerate instructions or alert medics to prepare for worse. Second, and often overlooked by older adults, is your emergency medical information stored in your phone. Whether you use an iPhone or Android, there's a medical ID that can be accessed even from the lock screen. It includes critical info for first responders, your name, age, drug allergies, and existing conditions, current medications, emergency contacts. I remember Mrs. Susan, 79, who had a minor stroke minutes before the ambulance arrived. She couldn't speak, but because her daughter had set up her medical ID in advance, paramedics accessed it from her locked screen. They learned she was allergic to penicillin, avoiding a dangerous mistake. They also called her daughter directly from the emergency contact listed. The doctor later said, "Those few taps on her phone saved us several minutes of guesswork and helped us treat her correctly from the start." You don't need to be tech savvy. Setting it up takes just a few minutes and you only need to do it once. List your full name, birth year, medical conditions, medications, allergies, and a trusted emergency contact. It's not about expecting the worst. It's about not being silent if the worst comes. You deserve to receive the right care, even when you can no longer speak. And remember, if you're feeling weak, don't hold the phone. Place it next to you, turn on speaker mode, and keep the line open. That voice on the other end, even if it's just gentle instructions, can be the lifeline that keeps you conscious in the panic. And that tiny phone can speak for you when you can't.